And welcome back, everyone, to the Zanpakuto Creation Series video. This one comes to us from Shadows82. Ask the question, what is the Zanpakuto of the Master from Doctor Who? I've done the Doctor. Now we're talking about the Master. Now, you said the John Sims, which is the image I got here, the John Sims version of the Master, who is the Master we see throughout Tennant's Run and a little bit in Capaldi's run. The problem with just specifying a certain master is it's all the same character in a different guise with a different personality, but the core essence of that character stays the same. So it doesn't really matter which version it is. That being said, let's get into it. Now, this is more of a keto type Zanpakuto than anything else. It would still be a standard katana, in my opinion. Now, because of the nature of the master, his controlling, maniacal, I'm the best type of nature, he is someone with a pretty, I think, messed up Zanpakuto, I want to say. And something with a kind of very, what's the best way to put it? Controlling, I guess is the best way to put it. So anyway, his release command would be "Time is mine," "Broken clock," or "Kawarete Koruku." Its Bankai is "Broken time," or "Kawarete Jiku." Now, the spirit form of the Zanpakuto takes the form of constantly fracturing, kind of like if you've ever seen, like, say, Doom Patrol with Mr. Nobody, or something along the lines of American Gods with Mr. World. It's something that's kind of like a fracturing owl, like humanoid owl creature. Because owls are kind of supposed to represent wisdom, time to some degree, occasionally. But this thing is constantly like fracturing, constantly, not whole. Now, the Zanpakuto itself does change form a little bit. The blade turns into a staff that is shaped like the pendulum of a grandfather clock. And what it does essentially is when it makes contact with something, the personal time of that individual slows by a certain amount. And now, when he first probably learned his Zanpakuto, it was probably only for like a few milliseconds to a few seconds. Now, like, say him as a grown adult, if he was a Shinigami as a captain, it would probably be something up to like 10 seconds or something like that. Which doesn't sound like a lot, but in the heat of battle is insane. Now you can't, while someone's frozen, he can't double down and just repeatedly just freeze their time up over and over again. So for example, if him and Ichigo got into a fight, Ichigo, his sword clashed, Ichigo's time stops for 10 seconds. He can't just slice and dice him, and then the time stop increases by longer and longer margins. He can't do that. But it does leave individuals open for an ultimate death. Absolutely. Now, that's not to say a sword can't work against long range weaponry either. It just, for example, if it hits a Ryujin Jikaz coming in with fire, he can, I guess, slow some of the fire, but there's so much fire that there's no way he's going to be able to slow it. Getsuga Tencho, if its blade somehow hits the Getsuga will stop. Its personal time will stop. Like Ichigo would just see it stop in time, and he gets out of the way. Mind you, the sword would still maybe get singed or damaged from too much power, but it's something he can do. The Bankai would be one of those scenarios where the sword itself doesn't change, but the image, and it's more like an outline, would take the form of like a grandfather clock behind him. It's just dung dung, and essentially he can now more or less have a limited control of time without having to test someone. He can freeze moments instantly if he needs to. He can kind of rewind things, but it's all within the interval of that 10 seconds. It's not that he gained a longer time, pause, reverse, forward, whatever. It's more that he now just has a very basic influence over time itself. Now, as we've seen in certain animes, though, this is not an infallible ability. It's a broken ability in many ways, but it's not infallible because he is he's in the world of Bleach, and we know for a fact Ryatsu can overpower Reishi, can overpower Reishi. The higher Reishis can negate effects. Similar, we've seen something like that in Dragon Ball, where the high enough level of power will negate time stops and time manipulation. So if he'd have to be insanely powerful, somewhere at least somewhat close to like his opponent to be able to affect them personally. And unfortunately, that is where I think this guy's biggest weakness would come in. While he certainly would be a powerful opponent, no doubt about it, I wouldn't, like, from a Ryatsu perspective or Reishi perspective, put him, like in, say, the top 10 characters. Uh, like, for example, he's not an Ichigo. He's certainly nothing like in the Squad Zeros. He's not a Kenpachi. He's not a Yamamoto or an Aizen or a Byakuya. I'm trying to think of anyone else who's got exceptional Ryatsu. Yeah, not a Shunsui or Norihara or a Yoruichi. So he'd probably fall more into the mid-level captain. Like Shinji, without his mask, has a decent amount of Ryatsu. I'd probably put him closer to someone like a Shinji or maybe a Tozen, who had a good amount of Ryatsu, but wasn't like, insane. I'd probably put him there, somewhere there, which would still mean he could probably run with the big boys a little to a certain degree. Like, it's not that he could. It's not that he would be negated by Byakuya's power. It's just that it probably wouldn't have quite the same effect. Like it'd be nerfed to a certain degree. Now, again, against like a Yamamoto, an Ichigo, a Kenpachi, their power's probably risen to the point where he's not, unfortunately, got the power to really affect them in a strong way. By the way, though, that is the Zanpakuto of the Master. Again, it's a Zanpakuto without too much weaknesses. It doesn't really have a long-range move, per se, unless you're in Bankai manipulating time. But it's not something that can fight a long range constantly. It's more something that has an area out effect in Bankai and is deadly in short range combat, close combat. So that's my thoughts on the Masters on Zanpakuto. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one.